All right, you're asking for it, so here it is. Listen to this.
I want you folks laughing at we partners pod, kid. You understand? We in here drinking, singing, swinging, all that shit, dog. We sweating, getting wet, and all that.
All right, welcome to a special edition of the Drinking Partners podcast live at the Pittsburgh Comedy Festival here at Henry Heyman. Is it Henry?
Heyman, yeah.
All right, because last time we called it Hyman and that wasn't a good thing.
Yeah.
But it's good. We are here live with the headliner of the comedy festival, W. Kamau Bell here, and we got myself. I'm half of your hosting tandem, Ed Bailey, joined as always with my co-host, Dave Bracey. Say what up to the people.
What's good with you people? We are Drinking Partners. If you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. You can find us on IG, Twitter, and Facebook at PartnersPod.
Now, we want to thank our guest here, live here at the Comedy Festival for joining us. Say what up to the people, man.
What's up, people?
That was a strong what's up, people. I like that.
Yeah, I try to do what I'm told when I don't think it's a bad idea. Also, I'm trying to out deep voice you you over here.
Yeah, y'all got me sounding real babyish. I'm real nasally, prepubescent, as they call it. First of all, thank you for coming out to the city supporting our comedy. We're trying to, Pittsburgh, we're trying to do some big things here.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, I haven't made it to a show. I'm trying to get down here, but how's the city been treating you so far?
It's been good. Yeah, I mean, you're busy. You're working too. That's what you're supposed to do when you're a comedian. You're supposed to be working.
We're trying to work.
Yeah.
Dave's working. You're working. We all working together.
Yeah.
Yeah, trying. You know what I mean? So this ain't your first time in the city, right?
No, this is my third time doing stand-up in Pittsburgh. Yeah.
And when was your first time here?
It was probably, I think somebody reminded me last night, it was 2011? It was before my first television show. So I think it was 2010, 2011. And it was in the corner of an Italian restaurant.
Yeah. I think all of Pittsburgh were just corners of Italian restaurants.
Basically.
I was doing a gig at some college in West Virginia, and this dude, Ron Placone, I don't know if you know him.
Oh, yeah. Shout out to Ron, yeah.
Yeah, so he basically hit me up on, I think it was Facebook, and was like, "Hey, I see you're going to be in West Virginia. Do you want to do my gig the night before?" And he was real persistent and also seemed like a cool dude. And so I was like, "I guess, okay." But it was way more fun than the college in West Virginia.
Yeah,
yeah, not even close.
You gained a lot of Pitt fans with that. Like, we're better than West Virginia. We still are. So you've seen a little bit of the progression of the city,
when back then I think that was they said there wasn't really a scene here, or they were starting the scene up, and then I came back. Last time I was here, I was at what is it called? Garfield Artworks.
Okay.
After they condemned it, I think that I was the show after they condemned it, and then
you shut it down.
No, I think it was shut down, and then they crawled back in and did one more show. It seemed like it should be closed. It did not. It seemed like, am I getting black lung while I'm here right now?
There was definitely an eviction notice somewhere.
Yeah, no, it was not. It was not. So I did that, and it was the embarrassing thing about it was Wyatt was in town, Wyatt Cenac, and he was at a cafe,
Club Cafe.
Okay, and so I was like, "Hey, Wyatt, why don't you come do a set on my show, and I'll go do a set on your show." So he came to my sad little show at Garfield Artworks.
That's crazy.
And I was like, "I'm sorry, I'm doing better than this." And then I went across town to see him play the hippest club in town.
That's insane, man. Somebody in Garfield missed a Bell and Cenac show. It was just in their backyard. They were watching.
I don't think they missed it. They seemed fine with it. They seemed okay with it.
They were probably watching the Pirates lose.
You always got to take a shot at the Pirates.
Man, every day, all day, man.
So for the listeners who may not be familiar with the stand-up, because I know you came into my consciousness through the CNN show, and then I got to go back and look at your stand-up. Where'd you get started, and how'd you get into stand-up?
I started it's funny, I started in Chicago at a time when Chicago's comedy scene was a lot like Pittsburgh's maybe used to be, where it was it was after they used to have a ton of clubs in Chicago, then all the clubs closed, and so it was really bars and coffee shops, and there wasn't really there was one club in town, Zanies, who had all the comics they needed.
Shout out to Zanies, in Old Town or whatever we did. Super dope.
No, it's an old school comedy club. It holds 125 people, and when it's packed, it's great. But at that point, they had all the comics they needed, so I didn't get any shine there. So I was there for a few years, then decided I need to go to another city. And that's when I moved to San Francisco, and so that's where I really dug in. That's where I really restarted in San Francisco.
Wow.
So your comedy is very socially and politically aware, very conscious rather. And
That's sometimes that's an insult coming from black people. You're one of those conscious brothers.
No,
I didn't think you meant it as an insult.
No shade here.
Yeah.
But I am kind of wondering, like, when you began comedy, were you always taking that approach, or is that something that you had to get comfortable with and develop over time?
It was not my intention to be the comedian I am, but I did come out of a household that was a very conscious household. So I think what happened was that's just where I came out of, and so it didn't seem like a big deal to me to talk about that stuff. And then whenever I sort of wandered into that area in stand-up, audiences would really pull back and didn't want to hear it. And so a lot of times I was like, well, I won't do it. But then I got bored doing other stuff. And the stuff I really, like, it doesn't matter how good a joke is if you can't tell it twice. If the second time you're like, I don't really care about this joke anymore.
Right.
So I would find myself with jokes that were fine jokes, but I just would lose interest in them. And whereas these jokes, even when they failed, I was still interested in trying to figure them out. So it was a long journey, and it was not something that, I mean, like there's comedians like Chappelle gets put in that category sometimes, where he came out of the box being Chappelle, like he only sort of got better at being Chappelle, or Chris Rock, who sort of was always trying to pursue that path and then finally like really landed on it, has been that way. But for me, it was a long path to like figure out how I wanted to do it.
Yeah, no, I mean that is like I'm still trying to figure out
Well,
on stage.
I think we all are. I mean, if you get to a Chris Rock Chappelle level, you can say you figured it out.
Yeah.
But when you're sitting down interviewing someone who's headlining, the comedy festival, and you're not headlining the comedy festival, you probably still trying to figure it out.
No, I'm still trying to. You're always trying to figure out the jokes that I did 5 years ago I wouldn't do now. They're still trying to. But I just feel like Chappelle, I remember, I've met Chappelle when he was 20, and it was always clear, like, okay, that dude's famous, just people don't know it yet. You know what I mean? Like, it was like, it's already there.
Yeah.
It's just the industry hasn't figured it out. And with Chris Rock, you see like early Chris Rock footage, and he knew he was supposed to be famous, but his act hadn't caught up yet. Like, you could tell he was like, I'm crazy. He would drop the mic and was like, who? Like a friend of mine, Dwayne, was like, he would drop the mic when nobody knew who he was.
You were the most confident, with nothing to show for.
Yeah. So I think for me, it was like, I was sort of like, I think this is what I want to do. I think I should be doing this. And then eventually, I think I had the life experience and the miles, and also I pursued like a very specific path that I was like, well, I'm just going to do this, and if it doesn't work, then it doesn't work. But then, it worked to the extent that I ended up on CNN.
So, did you try like other lanes of other avenues, and like you just?
Like every comic, I was like, men, women, men stuff. I'm not even putting that stuff down, but it didn't make sense coming out of me. So I had like the jokes that you have, and I still have some of it, but I'm saying like, I was trying to do just really basic observational comedy, and it just didn't, it didn't stick, so I had some good jokes, but they weren't, the thing you hear when you start to really get closer to Hollywood is they always talk about like point of view. Like they either want you to be super cute or have a point of view, or both, so like, and if you're not super cute, then they really talk to you about point of view.
So all of us in this room got to have a mean point of view.
You got a point of view. And what that means is that within about 5 minutes of seeing you on stage, they got to be able to like, okay, we get who this guy is. Yeah. We get who this woman is. Whatever. They got to be able to pick it up quickly. And so early on, I had some jokes, but there wasn't really like, what does this all add up to? So now I think it clearly adds up to something. It adds up to like, you should probably be on CNN. Kevin Hart, you go to the football stadium. Kamau, you go to CNN.
Yeah. So what's it like being the media?
I'm the media?
Yeah.
I was waiting for the rest of that question.
Yes, you are. You're a black dude who went to
No, you're right.
cross
You're right.
burning. Like
I'm in the media.
CNN.
No, I am the fake liberal media. I am the fake news. I'm the black fake news. I'm the fake black news. It is funny to think. All the time I'm still like in this weird spot of like, that's so funny that I ended up working at CNN, because that's not, no comic started out going, one day I can get a show on CNN.
That's the root.
Saturday Night Live, In Living Color, whatever, all these different things, Def Jam, I want to be in one of the Friday movies with Ice Cube. CNN is not on that list, and it wasn't on my list. So, and it sort of ended up there accidentally. Like I went to a meeting and they were starting to do the like Anthony Bourdain show, and they're like, we're thinking about doing a new show. And they talked to me about it. So I didn't go into CNN going, I think I need to be here. It wasn't like that. It was just like, it sort of just worked out that way. And that's when my career works the best, when I just sort of go, I follow my nose and end up in a place like, this is weird, but I think I should probably do this. So so it is. But it is like, I was at CNN a couple of days ago in New York, and it's like my pictures, like, it's like Anderson Cooper, Don Lemon, Kamau. Like,
you dropping mics now.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, but the thing is, they all have these serious news faces, and I'm like, hey, like, so it's very clear that like one of these people is, is not like the other.
I mean, have you faced any like backlash, like from the community or whatever? Like, are you the man now? Like, have you had any of that like interactions, or is it being like welcomed? Like, hey, we finally get some representation.
I mean, you get both. You get some people who are like excited. Some people who like black people who were already watching CNN. They're like happy to see more black people on CNN.
We was mad at Don Lemon.
Yeah.
Don Lemon.
We was done with him.
Yeah. If anybody's benefited from Trump being president, it's Don Lemon, because people are like, oh no, now we're mad at him.
Yeah, like I watched him the other night and I was like, yo, that motherfucker making sense.
He's smooth. Now he's smooth. Went and got a tan.
Yeah.
Got his Obama hairline going together. I'm like, all right, Don.
Enough is enough.
No, he's like, he's like, yeah.
But there's a lot of people these days that are just like saying things. I'm like, that just makes sense. Like, those are sensible words.
Trump makes a lot of people make sense. It makes a lot of people not make any sense at all. It's one or the other. But so I think that for me, it's like there's definitely people who I was walking through Pittsburgh today, and there's a lot of black people. The black people I saw, I can't say a lot of black people in Pittsburgh, but the
smattering,
the 7 I saw, like they're really excited to see me because they feel like you're out there doing some work. But then there's like a lot of, and I understand. The thing is, I understand when like hardcore militant activists see CNN as a sellout move. Yeah, I get it. Of course, I mean, why would you not see it as a sellout move? There are black people who think talking to the Klan, there's no way that there's no reason to talk to the Klan.
There's no good that comes out of hearing or learning anything about the person.
I disagree with that, but I understand. So for me, it's like if for stuff like that, I'm not going to argue with you because I get where you're coming from. I just have the right to disagree, and I know from the work I've done and the feedback I've gotten that the work is doing good things. So, but I'm not going to spend time arguing. But yes, I get the pushback and.
Well, yeah. I would imagine that people see the show and then they assume that you're going to try to tell these people's stories, these groups. You're trying to tell their story and be like, hey, these aren't bad people. But I think you used the term demystify.
Yeah. The Klan's making some good points, everybody. And it's like, and a lot of people, this is what I learned from Richard Spencer, because I talked to Richard Spencer, and it was just weird how that worked, because I talked to him right after the election, but it didn't air till April, and his whole profile changed in the ensuing months. So a thing that when we sat down, it was like, this is this guy named Richard Spencer. It was like CNN suddenly promoted, it's like, Kamau talks to Richard Spencer. And so it wasn't that conversation. It was really like a sit down, like, let me understand what you're talking about. It wasn't like he had already been punched. People were like, why didn't you punch him? Because he wasn't a punching bag when I saw him. That wasn't a thing, Not that I would have, but I would have asked him about it. And people really felt like I was, putting him on, giving him shine and normalizing him and giving him a platform.
Well, I mean, I think there's a fine line between giving a platform and just like having a conversation. And like you said, like, understanding. I follow a lot of people I disagree with, and the thing about people I disagree with is sometimes they get it right. Like, and it is what it is. But like having a conversation, just saying like, I want to understand why you became this person. We were all babies at some point. How did you get to this point? Me understanding that is not condoning it. It's me just trying to figure out how I can stop other people from like getting there, or even like try to figure out where you went wrong. I mean, but that doesn't mean that I condone it. You murder somebody, you still go to jail, but I still want to have a conversation with you to figure out like, why? How did you get here?
I mean, it's funny. Stop the next man.
Yeah.
I mean, like,
and it's funny you say that, because I did an episode in San Quentin in the first season, and a lot of people were mad that I put, like, a lot of those guys are like, they're all lifers. Some of them were in there for murder or attempted murder. Most of them were in there for things you're like, armed robbery for life? That's a life in armed robbery? So, but, and people were like, how could you put these murderers on television? Where
there's
you should
whole shows that how to get away with murder. 48 verse 48.
You fantasize about murder every time you watch Game of Thrones. Like, what are you talking about?
But that's for the good of your people, or whatever it is. I don't watch Game of Thrones, but people were like, people got caught up in like, you shouldn't put them on TV because they're murderers, and it's like, they're still people. And also, if you watch that show, they'd been in prison for a long time, and they're all good people, people who had done bad things and who all admitted they did bad things, but people just don't. We get caught up in our silos. I don't. Not only do I not want to see it, which is a fine decision to make, that's freedom of expression. I want to put you down for putting it in front of my eyes. Like this is like,
I think you can change the channel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, and I think that most people, like, they're just not, they don't have the ability to sit down with someone and put their personal feelings aside. Like, I think people inject what they would want to do. If I was, like, you talk to someone, they'll say, oh man, if I was in front of a Klan member, I'd do X, Y, and Z. And
I heard a lot of that.
They wouldn't be able to sit and have a conversation and really figure some shit out. Like, so they just resort to saying, well, you're wrong. Like,
well,
you were able to do that, you're wrong.
This makes me uncomfortable, so you're wrong, which is a lot of this. It's like, that's what I hear people. That's why I don't argue with people, because what they're saying is, this makes me think in ways I didn't want to think, so you're wrong, because I don't like thinking in ways I didn't want to think. I want to think the ways I always think. And I think that's like, well, that's not how I want to be. So, there's plenty of other choices you can watch.
So who do you want to reach? Because, like, I look at some folks and
I thought who in the hell do you think you are?
Like, there's some folks I talk to and I'm like, well, like they seem to be like on the fence, and they're kind of reasonable, maybe not exposed with. And there's folks that are just way far gone, that it's just like, it doesn't matter. Like, they're not even looking to understand. They just wanted, like, in 1984, just get into a room and just yell at a screen and, like, like, who are you trying to reach, like, with the message or whatever? I
feel like I'm the gateway television show to inclusion. If you come through me, because for some people, I feel like there's two groups of people that each episode is for. Hopefully the people we're covering, and this is not a Klan episode, I'm saying this, but like if we're doing like an episode in Puerto Rico, my goal is that that Puerto Ricans watch the show and go, he represented us well. And I feel like this is a good representation of us, and we don't have a lot of representation. I feel like that's for, but then people are like, I never even thought about a Puerto Rican. That those people go, I learned a lot. I learned in this 43 minutes, because it's 43 minutes once you take out the commercials, I learned some things I didn't know, and now I'm going to have a conversation with somebody about it tomorrow, or go do some research on my own to learn more. So it's never as in depth as some people want it to be, because it's only 43 minutes, and it really is the gateway to learning more about all these people. So there's a lot of people who think they just think they know a lot because they're grown.
Yeah.
Just because I pay the rent, I have a job, I'm over 18, I must know everything.
Yeah, I think people are most comfortable in their bubble.
Yeah,
and so anything that represents anything outside of their bubble of what they think should be, they're going to be uncomfortable with. Now, since you've done the show, how's it changed you, your comedy, your outlook just on the world?
I think I'm more aware how this is not one country. It's not 50 different states. It's way more communities than that. And so that we have to get beyond the idea of, like, and I think the thing I'm also aware of is that people live where they live, and a lot of people can't get out and go see all these people. So if you live on the south side of Chicago on a block that has no jobs, no school a lot of time, and there's crime, it's hard to imagine something else. It's hard to imagine that somebody in Appalachia has the same problems you do. And so for me, it changed me, because I'm like, the people in Appalachia want better jobs and better schools for their kids. The people in South Chicago want better jobs and better schools for their kids. Now, everything else around them is very different, but at the base, that's what they want. And that's when I look at, like, the political system in this country is like, nobody's really talking directly to that. Nobody's connecting those things. I mean, a lot of people in the Green Party are. I got a lot of friends. I know the Black Lives Matter people are, but the people, the quote unquote leaders of the country, are not connecting those dots. I mean,
the thing is that I think that they are connecting the dots, but I don't know. For me, it feels like they're purposefully draining the education system so that they can, and they know that there's poor white folks. That's how they get them to vote. Like, is they play.
Well,
on that.
Some people are purposely not connecting the dots.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of forces.
Some people are in Appalachia right now. We're bringing these coal jobs back. And it's like they know they're not bringing these coal jobs back. They have no intention of bringing these coal jobs back. Yeah.
But that's the thing that I see. I mean, you talk to people outside. Like you said, you get to know, like, what their driving force is, like, and they've been told that this is the reason for that, so then they just go in that direction of hate. You just put a object in front of it and go, this is why it is.
So what episode of United Shades kind of touched you the most, or that you learned from the most, if you can even quantify that?
No, I know the one we did in season 1 where I went to San Quentin and talked to lifers in prison. Like, I've been back to San Quentin 2 or 3 times since then. To visit, not because I did something, but yeah, I went there to host co-hosted a talent show. It was like a talent showcase with one of the dudes who was in the episode. I went back again to screen an episode there, and I was there the third time. I've been back twice, and I actually just recently, I'm in communication with the guys there who I met about going back for other things, like help out and do other things. So that's the episode that has, because it's about San Quentin, and I didn't realize this before the episode, is like a half hour from my house.
Oh, wow.
And I don't live in the country. I live in Berkeley, California. And I didn't realize that there was a notorious prison a half hour from my house.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So like it's hard to not feel like I need to go do something because it feels like otherwise I'm pretending it's not there. And I also was there, and they're all excited for people to come in and help and do things and volunteer and just so it feels like if I don't do more with them, then I'm really not. Then I'm not the person I claim to be. So and then this season we did an episode at Standing Rock. Just happened. We were going to do an episode about Native Americans, and Standing Rock was happening, and so I got to like really have a really quick sort of pretty deep dive into different Native American cultures and ask all the dumb questions that we sort of all sort of sit around wondering if what do they want to be called? What all these things. And because of the nature of the show, I'm able to ask dumb questions. So that I feel like the Standing Rock episode is probably one of my favorite ones because it's so basic. It's what this country was built on top of Native Americans, and we don't talk about them ever. As much as we don't talk about like Chicago, like gang violence in Chicago, and also how come we don't talk about the people who died in Chicago? There's that whole media narrative. We never talk about Native Americans unless it was connected to an oil protest.
Yeah, no, they definitely swept that all the way underneath the rug.
Yeah, I mean, it's even now. I'm still like, wait, I just thought I thought we would have changed the Washington football team's name by now. Like, I just thought I thought we were close. I was like, well, but nobody, and it feels like we got to start that up again.
Well, I'm from Cleveland, so we're still the Indians.
Yeah.
We took the Chief Wahoo off but it's an I for Indian, and everybody on the team's Puerto Rican. So I don't understand.
Well, it's also
they're technically they're technically the Indians.
The indigenous. I forget the Cleveland indigenous. But I saw the Terry Francona. Is that the manager?
Yes.
He still wears the Chief Wahoo hat. I saw him on ESPN the other day wearing it. Yeah. And to me, it's like,
even when
dude, just don't wear that hat.
Even when they make it easy for you, we have new hats.
And he probably went and go, can I get one of the old ones? I'm the manager. Can I get a special one?
He went to the mall to get that. Like he had to go to the manager of our major league team went to the mall just to get a Chief Wahoo hat. So.
So I mean, I saw him on SportsCenter the other day wearing it, and and you hear sportscasters who I know better, just like, well, that's what I call them. And so I feel like it's. So that episode, the indigenous native episode is one of my favorite ones because I feel like we could play that one every day because there's stuff to learn in that one.
Favorite Bruce Lee movie? I mean, I'm digging the T-shirt.
Oh, okay. It's funny. If you're wearing the T-shirt, I'm a huge Bruce Lee fan. And I've snuck Bruce Lee I snuck him into one episode that he didn't need to be in. I just sort of was like, can we just put a Bruce Lee thing here? Which is what happens when you have the executive producer title. Can we just snuck him into the San Quentin episode? But then we did one in Chinatown. So favorite Bruce Lee movie? I guess it's like favorite child. Enter the Dragon. I'll go with Enter the Dragon. Chinese Connection.
Yeah.
I feel like that one's... Chinese Connection. I'm a good because everybody can say Enter the Dragon. I'm a Chinese.
I mean, yeah, it is. It's
that's
a
like it's just so. But there's really not much happening in it. At a certain point, you could fast forward just to his parts. But once Jim Kelly dies, it sort of just fast forward to.
Oh man, I love that part.
Isn't that with all Bruce Lee movies? You just fast forward to the fight scenes.
But like in some of them, he's in a more like Enter the Dragon. He's kind of the co-star. There's a lot of a white guy in that one. There's a lot of like.
He was like the before Chuck Norris.
Yeah, it was funny. He's a white guy who was like a black belt kind of, but like is doing those Chuck Norris old school kicks like it's like not as smooth as Bruce or Jim Kelly. Like he's like are you really a black belt? Are you a 1970s Elvis black belt?
I always loved that Jim Kelly like scene or what he's like he's straight out of a comic book. Like that was for me as a kid was like because there wasn't a lot of like Negroes in like martial arts flicks, so to have him whole scene and like it was and
he had a moment. Yes, I would. Yeah, I think I'd go.
They do Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in a kung fu movie, didn't they?
That's he's in the one. The T-shirt is he's in Game of Death. Yeah.
You see, I'm not.
That's all right.
Aren't they doing like a Bruce Lee biopic or something like that?
It just came out today, Friday. It came out today. It's horrible.
It doesn't look good.
So it's not, and I know his daughter now. It's not endorsed by the estate at all. They didn't come to the permission. It's basically, it's not like straight out of Compton. It's very like,
How do you even do that? You're just like, we're just gonna do this about this.
Because they don't. It's not. It's about having. I mean, the funny thing about this, because I know this because I'm a big Bruce Lee fan. So they made this movie. The movie's called Birth of the Dragon because every Bruce Lee movie has to have the word dragon in it legally. It's illegal.
Somebody came up with that. Was like, like, yo, I got it.
Yeah. Something Dragon. So it's ostensibly about his time spent in San Francisco when he moved back when he was 18 years old. But what they did, probably they didn't have because they didn't have permission to the estate. They turned it into a movie about a white guy who knew Bruce Lee. And that white guy falls in love with with a Chinese woman, and it's about Chinese gangs. And Bruce Lee sort of like the first trailer is so great because Bruce Lee literally is in the background of the trailer that's supposed to be about his life. Like he's like, hey man, like it's like they don't even show his face right away.
Now tell me that ain't America.
Yeah, it's America right there. And so what happened is that the internet went, hold on a second. And then so this was like last year, it was like a year ago, and I haven't seen it yet, but from the new trailers, it's clear they re-edited the whole movie and cut the white guy out as much as possible.
Wow.
So it's just, which is like, it doesn't make the movie better. Now it's weird. It's probably 42 minutes long, but yeah.
Still 2%.
Yeah.
Still 2% of Rotten Tomatoes. Media, the production or stand-up? I mean, what do you enjoy?
If I was Kevin Hart, I would not be working as hard as he's working. I would just be doing stand up. Like if I had sort of like, all right, we sort of accomplished the goal. I would just do stand up. Stand up is my first love, and the other stuff is just sort of ways to bring people into the stand up. So I mean, I love all the work I'm doing. I only want to do work I'm really believing and committed to. But this like the show tonight and last night, that's like I can just sort of talk. I don't have to it's a lot to put like a television show together. Yeah. It's months of filming, then it's months of editing, and then you got to wait and hope that you didn't screw it up as it airs. And people on Twitter tell you every moment you screwed up. So it's
instantaneous.
Stand up is instantaneous. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I think, but you kind of created like a new, I guess, framework for a show or a different type. It's like you have these shows that do have political commentary with comedians, but they don't necessarily go on location. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? So do you think that's something moving forward that they'll develop new shows?
I mean, from what I've understood, from what I've seen and heard, there's already people doing it based on like who seem to be quote unquote inspired by my show. I mean, I feel like I just took Anthony Bourdain's show and just sort of put me in it and said I'm going to take out the food and put racism in. So I feel like I didn't really. I just sort of like I want to do that show, but I would do it differently. So I feel like and there's other people who did shows like that too.
Yeah.
And then so for me, I feel like if this is the show people are going to do it. I feel like I'm going to do my version of it, and my version is very specific. So there's a show called Hate Thy Neighbor on Vice that's with a black British comedian. Yeah, and he goes to hate groups, but it's always hate groups, and I wouldn't want to do that.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm sorry to cut you short. This is a shorter episode, but I gotta go do work so that I can get me a show on CNN. I'm trying to get.
I'll produce it. You'll
drop
follow
mic
me.
status. So for the listeners, are you in a season? Is there a season coming out?
We're about to film season 3. Yeah, so I start filming in the fall and then it'll come out like April of next year. Until then, my big thing I'm doing is my podcast, Politically Reactive, right now with my friend Hari Kondabolu. And I'm gonna promote a podcast on a podcast.
Yeah. Well, that's what we do.
Yeah.
We support each other. We're a comedy community. So where can the listeners find you, find your comedy?
You can go I'm on Twitter at WKAMAUBELL at WKamau Bell. Just Facebook, look up WKamau Bell. My website is WKamaubell.com. And also I want to promote my book that's out, The Awkward Thoughts of WKamau Bell. So there's a lot of product out there.
There's a lot of product. It's flooding the streets. Dave, where can the people find us?
Oh, if you're looking for us, you can find us on epicastnetwork.com/partnerspod. You can find us on iTunes, Stitcher, Libsyn, and Google Play under Drinking Partners. You can find us on Twitter, Facebook, and IG at PartnerSpot.
Hey, man, again, we want to thank our guests for coming on the podcast, but bringing good comedy to the city. And what you're doing with CNN is great. Yeah. Go check them out if you're not familiar. Drinking Partners is the crew. Epicast is the family. And we out of here.
podcast.